Stimulate your mind.
Get up, Chucky!
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
Rojan Kim.
California dreaming.
All right, that's a good level for you. All right, that's a guy. All right.
Oh shit.
All right, hello, and welcome to the Rojan Kim cast. It's me, your host, Rojan Kim. Today, joining me is Ron Bush.
Yes, sir.
Fellow comedian, fellow traveler, fellow human being.
Questionable.
That is true. Aren't we all, though?
Yeah.
At least we should be.
I believe in ancient aliens.
Do you?
Well, to a certain extent.
Like literal aliens that came, or
I don't think they like bred with us. I don't know. I would.
Whoa.
I don't know about science, but I would say that aliens have been here and at some point left some type. When you look at the pyramids and everything like that, they left some type of logic, some type of reasoning. I would be open to that.
wait, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like aliens are possible, but it's probably more probable that we probably had some ancient knowledge that we lost altogether.
I've heard that. I've heard that as well, and I'm on board with that too.
Right.
Something happened.
Sure.
Right? Yeah, something happened where.
Oh, so you know all about the mysteries of the Sphinx and the pyramid and shit? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm familiar with a lot of that stuff.
Okay,
And the mystery of Sphinx, I want to make sure just to offer an explanation of what you're talking about. But when you look at there was a period in time where there was light and there was no longer light. There was where the launch of consciousness really took a leap.
Whoa! How far back are we? Are you talking about Earth? We're still on Earth.
Yeah, we're still on Earth.
Okay, we're talking about human consciousness.
Human
okay,
consciousness,
so it's
right,
just this
right.
leap of human
Right,
consciousness.
there was a leap of human consciousness where developments really started happening.
Gotcha. And you're talking like hunter-gatherer times. When are we talking about here?
I'm talking like around what led up to making the pyramids happen.
Okay.
You know what
Sure.
I mean? I would say
Well,
that time period.
okay, so there's a
again,
lot of
and ladies and gentlemen, let's just start right off with we just smoked a blunt, and I am just talking about what I believe in a loose way.
Right.
Listen,
we're two high, degenerate, middle-aged comedians. Okay.
Talking shit.
We're talking about the ancient pyramids, which.
So go ahead.
Listen.
Go ahead.
Okay. Here's the thing: is that the timeline of the ancient pyramids is in dispute, right? Because some people, I think, it's 5,000 years ago. It's sort of the academic. They're saying it was 5,000 years ago, but then some people actually believe the pyramids are much older because of the evidence from the Sphinx. There's like water erosion on the Sphinx that could only happen during rainfall, and there's literally like no climate like that in that area. And like 10,000 years ago was the earliest time there was that much rainfall.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like,
I haven't heard that one.
Oh yeah. So they actually, there's like a geologist that went and was like, all right, this is water dripping on stone, like limestone, and this could only take place over a period of this, it's like hundreds of years.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that means the climate was actually different than it was at this point. And so there's a lot of dispute. But the Egyptologists, they are. They basically just kind of like scoff at the idea because it kind of implies a couple things. Like one of the implications is that the ancient Egyptians who built the Sphinx and the pyramids were actually black, and not like Middle Eastern per se. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's one of the things.
Absolutely.
That's possible. It's also, I don't know. Who really knows though? That's the thing.
Yeah, I think and when it comes to stuff like that, generally speaking, I think I think it's acceptable from what we know about human societies and how they've evolved is that it's probably a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
And but again, when you not going full ancient aliens, but when you do look at the pyramids and when they're supposed to have been built and all that good stuff, when you see these magnificent things that happen like that carving into the wall, that's a technology that existed at a time that we still can't.
Yeah,
we
can't replicate it.
We can't replicate it.
Yeah, we can't even replicate it.
And so you have to respect, number one, that came from somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's and maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson will come on your podcast, okay, and explain how all of that how all that glues together. But my understanding is that there was like some form of a leap of consciousness that we don't know where that technology came from, and so I do believe an option would be that aliens came down. We're like, oh, these niggas are stupid as fuck. Listen,
Sure.
roll with this. We're out. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
They put beacons in us like we're fucking dolphin and shit.
Sure.
You
I
know
mean,
what I mean?
I think it's entirely possible. That's totally possible.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
I mean,
at
if
point.
one day we found that out, if
Right.
Neil deGrasse Tyson,
I'd be like, I told you.
if Neil deGrasse Tyson came on this podcast, first of all, I would feel like, man, he must be having a tough month, huh?
Maybe we win a prize or something like that. Yeah, totally.
Like, what happened, Neil? Are you okay? Yeah. But on the other hand, I don't know. I don't know how we'll ever know. That's the thing. Is like some of this shit is unknowable.
It's
like,
unknowable,
completely
right.
unknowable. But you were saying actually there was a leap in human consciousness, and you were saying it was back
Just like
sort of before the hunter-gatherer, so before agriculture, right? Before
Right.
sort of the and so what is the leap?
I think you have like the making of fire. You have you have the beginnings of civilizations.
Sure.
You have how when dogs and cats started being integrated into our families.
Oh yeah.
That whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Then and I'm still fucking stoned. I can't remember the stuff I was reading on it, but there's a period of time when there was similar to how we're having now with technology. There was a rush of development.
Right.
Yes. that happened.
And yeah.
And all I'm saying is I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
If, you know what I mean? Because aliens would not want to, an advanced intelligence season. I would imagine, if a good one. I mean, we're going a little far down the rabbit hole here, but there's no need to do anything more so than to help advance something.
Sure.
If you came across motherfuckers sitting around with fire and fucing lions coats around their fucking waist, kind of a thing.
Right.
If they ran into Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble,
Right.
I
remember from
reference Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble.
you guys remember?
Speak, yeah.
You guys remember those guys? It's
yeah,
classic caveman archetypes.
Great.
I think that I remember, from what I remember, anthropology. There's something like 2.5 million years of hominid evolution where we had the same tools. So for almost 2 million years, we just had the same tools, and then there was this leap in, like you're saying, that's when the fire started, the tool building, the symbolic language, like these things started separating Homo sapiens from the earlier hominids. I think
so from that period of time to where, like, say that city that was built inside the side of the wall, inside the mountain, you know what I mean? That's all intricate,
Sure.
just like down feet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
From whenever that was built to how, I'm vague on. Let's just say I'm very vague on how we got there.
Of course,
And
I think it's very, it's kind of tempting to romanticize the shift in consciousness as like, must have been divine or must have been alien intervention or whatever. But if you really think about the amount of time period that change is taking place in, it's it's something like 100,000 years, 200,000. You know what I mean? The time scale is much larger. In fact, we're living in a period of time of immense rapid change technologically. That could, maybe when you look back, you'll be like, this was even crazier. What the fuck was going on? And people might think aliens were fucking with us now too.
Because Europe fell upon there was the Dark Ages. There is evidence of there is a history of all things being lost.
Well, for white people.
Right.
Well, yeah, right.
But you know what I'm saying. But if a global event happens,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Some Tower of Babel shit.
A comet.
Anything.
Some type of major event that wiped out that wisdom.
Yeah.
And motherfuckers had to start over again. That's where I'm not clear if that's possible to have built those. If those types of structures were built at a time where that type of technology was not known to have existed, is that a possibility?
Oh
that
yeah.
Would have happened?
I think so. You know why? Because imagine there was a solar flare in the 1800s or whatever, and it let off an electromagnetic pulse and it fried the whole telegraph grid.
Oh, wow.
It fucked people. It even caused fires at telegraph offices. There was like this fucking feedback from the sun, right? Like, So that hasn't happened for a while,
Right.
but imagine it happened now.
Oh my God, yeah.
That the entire internet would shut down. Like everything would be fried.
Oh, dude.
And we would lose.
Just be falling off the sky.
I mean, we'd go back to pencil and paper. You know what I'm saying? Like we would have to actually go back to fire for a bit until we got the grid back up.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it even goes back up.
Yeah, you're
Because
100%
I don't know. Like how long would you give electricity? Like once electricity goes out in say a city like LA, how long would you give it before it's just fucking chaos? Like
I would say after a week of no electricity.
yeah, 1 week, yeah.
After about a week and a half of no electricity. 'Cause
Yeah.
motherfuckers start flipping out. You know, once your food starts going rotted in
Right.
your refrigerator,
Yep.
and you know,
Yep.
you know, you have people like, heart machines and shit, and you're,
Oh, yeah.
and so you have this fight for diesel generators.
Oh,
and all
yeah,
that shit
yeah,
starting
yeah.
to go down. You know, I mean, after about a week,
Yeah,
you know,
that's when the
motherfuckers-
guns start coming out?
Yeah, guns start coming out about a week.
Okay.
You know, you start seeing, and that being said, again, unless it's a global event, or a massive attack on the United States,
Right.
You know, there is so much product to be able to get the replacements in place that
Right.
you know I'm not one person. Again, it would have to be like a comet hitting the planet or some type of crazy shit, you
Right.
know, that would really be able to do that type of disruption, because I don't see like an attack from Russia being
Right.
able to take out all of the United States grid. You know what I mean? Now,
Sure.
if it was again like a massive solar flare,
I'm talking
or-
about a natural disaster.
Yeah,
I really
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's nature that's going to
a
fuck
massive
us.
solar flare could do that. Yeah, very possible. I don't. I mean, I think they can kind of. They have a good way to be able to read stars. Like, they maybe look at the sun and say, okay, what's coming, what's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, we could have possibly. Did you see the article where they're trying to look for another dimension and open a portal to it?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I posted on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, niggas is trying to go full endgame, right?
Right.
We don't.
I mean, okay. Yeah.
We don't know what's going. Even Neil deGrasse can't fucking vouch for us.
I mean, who knows,
Dr.
man?
Evil out there with his fucking bald head and his pinky.
For all we know, those flat Earth motherfuckers might be right. It's all fake. Like the whole thing is a giant story that they've been telling us this entire time. Like,
there's a video on YouTube called "Understanding the 12th Dimension," right? And it's a cartoon, but it's by these physicists who explain dimensions of perception.
Gotcha.
And
I think.
And it's.
Wait, so is this like a string theory thing? Like, how do we get to
It'll-
12? How did we get to? Because I know about 4, because the 3, and then there's time.
yeah,
but then
yeah.
after that, what is that?
Because one of those is choice, chance, and the actions of others. That determines fate. And so there's always going to be the other possibility.
Oh.
And it's you got to watch the video.
Yeah. So you're just talking about like the idea that at every instant there are almost an infinite amount of possibilities that you could go, right? I mean, I've heard this
Yeah,
theory
right,
where
right.
like we perceive time as a continuous stream, but
Right.
maybe time is actually just moments.
It's been proven not to be a
Yeah.
continuous. At this point, it's been proven not to be a continuous
And at
stream.
any
Right.
point,
It's a consciousness.
that moment could branch off into one direction or another or another or another or another. I think about that shit all the time. I think about that all the time.
It's infinite possibilities.
Yeah.
And so us doing this podcast right now means that there is a possibility that there's another us doing this in another
Somewhere in the universe, somewhere,
Right.
exactly right now at this time.
right, and it's in a different realm. Like our outdoors, like that building is not across the street. You know what I
Maybe
mean?
it could be a little bit different, or it could be exactly the same.
Right,
I mean, it's,
right.
if the universe is truly infinite. But then the other thing to trip on, I trip on this all the time. It means that like if there are infinite versions of what's going on right now, that means there are versions of me like missing a finger. Like each
No,
finger is a
absolutely,
different
yeah.
reality,
I would, like-
or fucking foot, or like you know what I mean, like.
I'm convinced that I'm gay Thanos.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm gay, fucking gay Thanos.
Okay,
nigga.
all
You know what I'm
right.
saying? I just like walk into worlds like, send to be your man.
Right.
You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like,
okay. And then you just said, what does the snapping do? Get rid of all the women? Is that?
No, I would never do that. Oh my God, you gotta have women. My God, can you imagine a planet with just men?
Oh
Jesus
god, I know
fucking-
that would be. It would.
be a
How
fucking
okay? How
nightmare.
long would you give a planet with just men before it destroys itself?
Oh, it's like
How long do you
20
think?
minutes.
You think so?
20 minutes. 20 minutes.
It'd be like we're
20
going
minutes.
nuke everything now. South. Like
20 minutes, motherfuckers would lose their shit.
Yes.
My God.
No, I think it's very.
If you took half the women off the planet in some fucking just disgusting whatever, I mean, it would be the end of civilization.
Right.
Just-
No, we need. That's. I always say that.
Dude,
I think we need
women
more
are the,
women.
It's not even women are the majority.
Right.
They are
We
50.
need them to be.
They are about 51% of
Yeah.
the global population.
For a reason.
They are not the minority.
Yeah.
Right?
For a good reason.
It pisses me off. It's like this. It blows my mind that they're treated like minorities and they're literally the majority of the population.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they shouldn't call themselves a minority. In fact,
I don't think,
they should just.
I don't think they do. The women do not call themselves a minority. They're treated like that.
Right, of
and
course.
That's the problem.
Treated like a
They're
minority.
treated like a minority.
Which, what does that really mean? It just.
No,
I know what that
less
means.
Less pay, less benefits.
Yeah. As a minority, I understand.
Less opportunity. Prejudice and hiring in the workplace.
Right.
Just all forms of discrimination.
Of course.
Absolutely.
But then there are certainly women who have also.
Dickbags like Donald Trump is like crazy. Can you imagine? Oh my God, go ahead.
But I'm just saying, there's also the women who have been there to enable the whole system of white supremacy as well. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing. Is that like there's both sides.
I'm gonna pull the Joan Rivers right now. Can we talk? Can we talk? All right. Every culture has their sellout.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Period. And African Americans, we call them Uncle Toms. You know what I mean? Sellout motherfuckers. We can use the C word too, coons, since this is not rated GTV here. So we all have, in Asian culture, you know what I'm saying? In all, you have the sellout.
Right.
When the American Indian was being slaughtered, there was the sellout. You know what I mean? Garen fucking Teed, right? Mm-hmm. So we can't look at those types of people. Because that in and of itself, to me, unfortunately, is some form of a mental condition that they need to figure out for themselves. That's just who they are. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And they're doing whatever they need to do for who they feel, whatever. You know what I mean? The more important thing is to make sure that those of like mind are active. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? The reason why we lost this last election is because a lot of African Americans stayed home. Yeah. Or a lot of people necessarily didn't like Hillary and didn't think that Trump would be that bad or voted because they had these subconscious racist or sexist beliefs.
Sure. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, there is that statistic about how 53% of white women who voted for Trump, right?
Absolutely.
So obviously it's not like a woman versus man. I feel like maybe one of the missteps of the Democrats was they turned it into a man versus woman thing, but I think that ended up alienating a certain segment of the women vote. You know what I mean?
I'll say this. I hear what you're saying, and I would guarantee that there's an element of that. I think a big part of it would be white women in the Midwest, that mindset, that Southern mindset. Mm-hmm. They felt safe because they still know they have privilege. And if it doesn't really bother you, if it doesn't really matter to you, then you can make that vote. Mm-hmm. Because in your mind, how bad could it be?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And so,
Okay. Well, I get that, but do you think that, because part of me also feels like a lot of the middle of the country, aside from the coast, they're a little bit alienated from the media's perspective to what's going on.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I think when they're given a certain narrative, they don't necessarily all buy into it like we do on the coast. You know what I'm saying? Like when they see something like Trump is a racist and blah 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 blah, like they're I think part of them is just like I don't know, we'll see for ourselves. And I think part of the Democrats' misstep in the last election was not going on the ground and talking to these motherfuckers. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Like, and instead of sort of trying to rely on the media to push the message. Yeah. And the thing is, people, I think in the middle of the country, they don't necessarily trust the media, because these people are rich people from New York and LA that are telling them that they're racist dummies, like, and
absolutely.
So I do understand, on one hand, there's the fear operating. But this country has used fear. You know what I mean? It's just a fearful country. It uses fear to manipulate people all the time.
It very much does.
It's
and we have
from the get-go.
and we have deep racial wounds.
Oh, of course.
That are that are still very recent in comparison to a lot of other countries.
Right.
And you see the unrest they have in France.
Right.
You know, so it's not like or even down in Brazil. It's not like we're alone in this. It's just that we always the ebb and flow of this energy. Just happens, and it manifests itself this time in Donald Trump, and the Republicans have been the party of racism, for the past 30, 40 years now. Voter suppression and everything. It just on and on and on it goes. So
yeah,
well,
that's the thing. The Republicans, they did. You know what I mean? They know what they did. They did it consciously. I mean, it's fucking in Lee Atwater, all that shit. They knew what they were doing. They think
and
those.
they continue to do.
Honestly, back then, they were just like, okay, we got to just get these dummies on board, so we're just gonna say whatever we need to say. You know what I mean? And honestly, this is what I honestly think. I think the majority of politicians don't really believe a thing they fucking say. You know what I mean? I think the majority of them do not. They don't really care.
I don't get it. Yeah,
they don't care. I bet you if you paid them enough money, they just flip sides. Yeah. That's the type of people they are. That's what I'm saying. So they don't believe in anything they're saying. You know what I mean? They're just doing what they need to do to get the votes, to get the money, whatever it is they need to do.
I think a few of them there are there to do the right thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but
especially some of these newer ones. You know what I mean?
Sure, but give them time. You know what I mean? The thing about Congress is it's become a cesspool because of the money. Everybody in Congress is a millionaire. Even Bernie, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why is everyone rich? What is it? Right. That's not everybody in the country isn't rich, but for some reason, everybody in Congress they get rich. So I feel like it's really the corrupting influence of money. It's actually to me in a way it's almost ridiculous to argue sides in a way like Republican versus Democrat when the money doesn't give a fuck.
Right.
They just pay off both sides, Yeah. But but in terms of the racial. Our country has a very specific racial past that's very, unique amongst all the countries, right? Because it's, on one hand, a product of slave owners who sought freedom, right? Who were and then continually dealt with that contradiction over time, right? Kind of letting people free little by little and whatever. And then kind of moving backwards with shit like the drug war and then kind of trying to move, so it's... Right. Constantly going back and forth, much more than most other countries, really, because most other countries don't have this kind of mix of people, this mix in history of people. Yeah, but I feel but I feel like the one thing we haven't actually done is address the shit we did. No. We just gloss over it. Right. We just move forward without looking back, and then we're like, we elected a black president. Everything's great now. We don't look at the.
Humorous when they said that.
It's like
Mitch McConnell said that the other day.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, man. White America, you hit a very important point. White America needs to look in the mirror about that. We're not saying that you're all bad people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But we are saying there is a systemic problem that needs to be addressed.
Right.
And your culture needs to come to terms with that.
Right.
Asian Americans, African Americans, LGBTQ Americans, insert the perceived minority group there, and we get it, and we're unified in our voice with that, including women, which I don't consider to be a minority.
Right.
Right. And so when all the scientific evidence, when everything is pointing to this needs to be a solution, we need to start having that conversation, and we're not allowing it to happen because we're allowing the privilege to dictate the policy.
Yeah.
The Republican Party is the party of the privilege.
Right.
It's about maintaining that white supremacist mindset. Within the United States, which permeates throughout Asia, throughout India, throughout the Middle East.
Right.
And it's down to you see Asian women putting all this white cream on their fucking face.
Sure.
So they're you know what I mean. It's like, what are you doing? This is the effect. Hey, this is how pervasive it is. You know, and that's what they're trying to hold on to.
Well, okay, so I feel like on one hand, what you're talking about is sort of the legacy of white supremacy that comes out of colonialism, right? Like all this shit really comes out of colonialism when
Right.
when European countries would go to other countries and then establish a system where they were the, the
Right.
superior ones,
Absolutely.
and everybody else wasn't, and then beauty
Absolutely.
standards changed with that, and so
Absolutely,
that's like
right.
something you see all across the board. Like lighter people are
Absolutely.
better looking
England
than darker
was,
people, right?
England was in every country. It was the sun never set on England was the old phrase. It was the
Right,
old
right,
phrase, you know?
and like this idea that good looking is really white features,
English
white features,
English
white
Christian, yeah.
right, white features are good looking,
Yep.
and also it makes me feel like here's the thing. I have a whole bit about like when a black person fucks a white person, what does their baby look like? Like a black person,
Yeah,
right? When an
yeah.
Asian person fucks a white person, what does their baby look like? Like an Asian person, right? So that means like obviously their genes are recessive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
obviously their genes are.
Do you remember Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet?
Yeah, Fear of a Black Planet. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's the name of my bit, Fear of a Blasian Planet.
Yeah,
because that's.
absolutely.
I think if you like
Yeah.
just let the time go forward and forward, that's what ultimately everybody would be a mix of African and Asian features because those are the
Absolutely.
dominant
Those are-
features,
those are
right?
the
Those are the
dominant features, yeah.
dominant features, and they would be very beautiful people, right?
It's
Incredibly.
interesting you say that because when you see Blasian babies are beautiful and they do have the like Jamaican Chinese.
Yeah. Oh
You know
yeah,
what I
I've
mean?
seen Jamaican Chinese. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
But it's like it's interesting how both of they're both dominant genes and
Yeah.
they're both very present.
Right.
And
Right,
you
but
know
they're
what I
finding
mean?
a middle ground, right? They're
Yeah,
finding
it's
this middle
really
ground,
interesting.
and
Yeah,
so I
that's
feel
an
like
interesting thing. Yeah.
that is part of this fear you're talking about. That's in the sort of these white supremacist circles or whatever. Is this
Yeah.
idea of white genocide, right? This idea that and it's not real white genocide. It's that they'll be fucked out of existence.
They
Is
know.
really the thing that they're afraid of, that they fear, and they're so scared of. But I don't know. I think it's just
it's a retarded concept because
Yeah.
it's impossible. You know what I mean? It's
Well-
like as you're always going to have a regenerate. You're not going. I mean, this
well, the
is-
Earth is huge. First of all, the
Right.
Earth is gigantic, so
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
move. There's places you can go if you really want to keep it white. But I think
It's fucking Sweden.
if any
not going big anytime soon.
if science here's the thing, like I think race used to fall under the purview of science, right? Where they
Right.
used to justify race through scientific theory or whatever. They
Right.
come up with the mongoloid and the the negroid and the caucasoid, right? And they're like, yeah. And then it turned out all that shit was bullshit when real science started disproving all that, because that's what the great thing is about science. It's fucking blind. It just keeps trying to correct itself.
Right.
And then at some point, science told these scientists that, oh, everybody actually comes from Africa, right? We all come from Africa. Like everybody's actually descended. You could trace everybody's genetics back
Right,
to Africa,
right.
and Africa itself actually has more diversity than the rest of the world. So that kind of just logically shows that everybody comes out of here, right?
Right.
And that probably fucked the scientists up so bad. You know what I mean? Because they were like, oh, this whole time we thought we were superior or whatever,
Right.
but now it turns out that like we're just all the same,
Yeah.
right? So it's like we're kind of trying to we're barely dealing with that idea.
Right.
We can't
Right.
even deal with it right now. It's
Right.
like completely,
Well,
and I think it's because we're visual, first of all, and I also think it's because of this history, this shared history, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think you see it now how like we're in Koreatown and this is like one of the most diverse places in LA. And the couples are all mixed race of
Yeah.
all mixes. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like an M&M bag out here,
Right.
which is a beautiful fucking thing.
Yeah.
And so that proves that when you remove the social stigma, the features become a fetish.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or it's hot. It's
Or
fucking.
absolutely, people get it, right?
People
you know what
fuck.
I mean?
People will fuck their way out of racism.
Right.
People are gonna fuck their way out of
Right,
everything.
Right.
People.
But it's that white supremacist mindset
Yeah.
that that is really kind of fucking shit up. And listen, man. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, vote and make sure you talk to someone and say, hey, listen, just this time, think about the babies in the cages or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's where the white supremacist mindset takes it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? There has to be an enemy.
Right.
There,
Right.
When at the founding of the country, it was the Chinese.
Right.
You know what I mean? Then it became the Japanese internment camps. Then and through that entire time, it was of course the nigga. You know what I mean? So there always has to be a boogeyman. And now
Right.
now they call the Mexican is the new go back to Africa.
Sure.
And so with all of the connectedness that we have now with social media and everything like that. And do you hear this fucking trash can?
Yeah, there's a giant. Yeah, there's that. We're under attack, everybody.
We're under attack.
They heard our podcast.
Yeah,
they're coming for us.
They're coming for us.
Fascism in our time.
My God, that's the trash can outside. We're in Koreatown, ladies and gentlemen. We apologize.
That's fine.
Yeah. But dude, it's like, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dude, I was called nigger. That joke that I have where I'm talking about getting called nigger, that's right out here. It happened right here.
Oh, I believe it, man.
Yeah.
I believe it. I mean, I grew up here. I grew up in Koreatown. I would say that more. Well, I've actually been attacked for my race by all manner of people, actually. So the entire color of the rainbow, black, white, and Latino, have all attacked me. Just, I am assuming, just for being Asian, well, they did yell it and stuff like that.
there was
there was the yelling thing, and then I would run. I've also been flashed more here than anywhere else. Only white dudes do. Only white dudes for some reason. Dicks. A lot of white dicks. Just when I was a kid, though. Not lately.
Really?
When I was little. Yeah, when I was a boy. When I was a lot of lure Mexicans.
What?
Mexicans and white
dudes. Their dick out in front of kids.
Yeah, dude, they do it all the time, right? Fucking down the street. I mean, not too far from here. Like, and then I've been lured, but one of these when I was a kid. But that was a Mexican dude. I think so. I must have been super fuckable. I think I dodged a bullet. For anything, if anything, I was actually roaming these streets. I was roaming these streets as a little kid because I was a latchkey kid. Essentially, I had no parents around, so I just run around. I lucked out. I think about that shit all the time. Like, god damn, I could have been snatched so easily, man.
Me and my brother were my mother and father got divorced when I was 13. My dad was, even before then, he was kind of like a very distant dude. You know what I mean?
Wait, where did you grow up?
We grew up in Philadelphia and then South Jersey.
Okay.
So, but yeah, absolutely, dude. So I don't recall. Maybe there's a few instances where probably motherfuckers were trying to lure me or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't remember them as like what you're doing. Like,
yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, I think in the end. Look, white supremacy is a real thing, right? Yeah. I think it's a real thing, and I think it exists. But here's my but, and I'm not here to defend white supremacy. That's not anything. But I've gotten into these sort of arguments online and in person a lot about this idea of how to deal with this, how to deal with this issue, because it's a real issue, and we can't ignore it. And I think
I have a very unique perspective.
I think just. The idea of deplatforming or being like, we don't want to hear these voices anymore. I think that creates more harm.
It does, yes.
Than
very
good.
So.
I think it really because
very
what you're doing is just empowering the fringe essentially, and then they get to go off by themselves and be like, see, they hate us. We're right. So I think from the evidence I've seen out there, there's. Have you ever heard of Daryl Davis?
Absolutely.
You know about Daryl Davis, right?
That's what my TV show involves his.
Oh, dude. Right. Daryl Davis always short circuits these people who are like, deplatforming works, and we can't give these people a platform. And I go like, what about Daryl Davis? And then they're like, but like Daryl.
Here's the TED Talks.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing about Daryl Davis is like, he went to KKK rallies and talked to these people and fucking. And I saw the footage of the Grand Dragon, where the fuck being like, I respect this man more than most of you. He was talking to the black man. He's like, he's fucking straight up. They're like calling him the N-word, but still saying, I respect this man because he's man enough to come here and fucking. And I think in the end, people respect face-to-face engagement. You know what I mean? Like, there's another movie where this Pakistani American woman rides with these dudes to Charlottesville, and by the end of the movie, they're like, they're friends, and the whole thing is like a lot of these so-called white supremacists, whatever, they've never even seen a non-white person. They've never even talked to one before. You know what I mean? They've never actually even. I'm sure you have plenty of experience of that. And then once they actually meet one, they're like, oh my god, this person is just like kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like, this person is like a person or whatever. Like, and they like you, and then it starts short-circuiting the fucking programming they've been given.
Yeah, let me break it down like this. I was talking to my psychologist about this, right? And one of the jokes I'm writing, Understanding the White Man for World Peace, kind of touches on part 2. Kind of touches on this concept. The biggest victim to the white supremacy mindset, because white supremacy is not the KKK. That's a hate group. With a white supremacy mindset is, at this point, the white man. Because he is expected to be these things that are almost impossible to attain, and it's unsustained. And as technology and everything like that, and competition intensifies, it's actually a hindrance to growth because there's these expectations that are not able to be met. Asians, blacks, we all, Indian, Latin, we all know we have to work hard, but the white supremacist mindset has made it easier for them. And now, as things intensify, when the white picket fence and all these ideologies are so hard to attain, and when they express their frustrations, they're called racists, and they're called insensitive, and they're called ignorant, and so now they're not able to even to express their emotions. And if they say something wrong, like Liam Neeson did, not in the most sensitive way, but the intention was good in his heart of what he was trying to do, they're ostracized. Okay. So they're boxed in. There has to be a way for white males to be able to express themselves. Listen, I'm banging a fucking white supremacist in Salt Lake City. You know what I mean? You don't gotta fucking tell me about what it's like. Listen,
like Ron Bush engages.
When you here's the thing, man. When I'm on tour, right, and if I'm placing some places like Boise, or if I'm, and like when I was with Shapiro up in Worcester, Massachusetts and shit, when you're in these places where, you have this toxic masculinity and these white males who are doing, they're good fucking people, they work their fucking ass off and shit ain't fucking working for them, and you come to them and talk about fucking white privilege and they're fucking like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they almost lose their shit. You know what I mean? Because to them, there is no white privilege, right? You can hear it all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And you don't, it doesn't matter if you laugh at that and say, how could you believe that? This is what these motherfuckers are living. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're being discredited in their emotion, and that's the problem. And like I was telling this dude that I'm fucking banging, is like, listen, there's socioeconomic disparity is different from from systemic racism. One is the mumps, the other one is the measles. You know what I mean? They're both very valid. Your argument is valid, okay? Mm-hmm. But you need to understand what is causing you your problems.
And you tell them this while you fuck them.
No,
I was just getting a visual for the people out there.
This is I think this is what we call pillow talk.
Now, this is the kind of political discourse. This is the political discourse we need in this country, Ron. I think if there were more men like you out there fucking these white supremacists.
I'm trying my best, man. I'm plowing through them.
Dude, Daryl Davis has over 200 clan outfits. I'm sure you've got some notches. Yeah, you've got some notches.
I'm like the bull on Wall Street, bro.
This is just two individual black men, you motherfuckers. Get out there and start doing something, okay? These guys are pulling all the weight.
Trust me, man, because, yes, when you go to these areas where they don't have a lot of African Americans, you bet your bottom dollar that at least half the white dudes I've slept with have been some form of some scale of racist. And they don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Hot as fuck. I
mean,
they just have no idea.
Right.
And again, I'm not justifying anything. I'm just stating a fucking fact.
Right.
And you can get alarmed, you can get hurt, you can raise all your shit all you want to. You know what? It's the fucking reality.
Yeah.
These are people. You're not able to go over and put a bullet in their head just as much as they can't do it to you. So if you plan on if you plan on trying to fucking talk to these people and to walk them back off the fucking fence, you better wake up and realize, hey, maybe this is a direction we could go in trying to elevate the conversation.
Right.
Instead of you fucking taking your fucking ball and going home too,
or fucking throwing milkshakes at them and beating them with masks on and shit. You know what I mean?
Right. When you take the minute to understand the behavior,
empathize,
then you can come up with a solution.
Yeah, I think we do lack.
And it's a long-term project. This is not something that starts today and we're like, oh, let's just have all white men stand in a circle and hug. This is not, this is a change in the way that we all discuss race and socioeconomic disparity versus systemic racism. That's the issue. We have to acknowledge, just like in any relationship. you have to be able to acknowledge the other person's emotions, you know, before you can move on.
Right.
And that's what needs to happen right now, you know.
I mean, honestly, I feel like the typical straight white male is kind of like Will Hunting in that scene in Good Will Hunting where Robin Williams comes and hugs him and he's like, it's not your fault. And he's like, and then he just starts crying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of them just need to be held.
Yeah,
like a lot of them
I'm trying my best, man.
I know, dude. You're just one man. He's just one man. Just can you please pick it up, guys? Like if women, men, everybody, just get out there and just hold them for a second. They'll just break down blubbering like little.
Every white man
they
needs
will.
a strong black man to just take him and hold him.
Yeah, because I think they're really on guard because they're expecting people to be like, "Fuck you, white man, fuck you," you know. And then if you just held them, they would just do whatever you want.
But metaphorically
you know what I mean?
speaking, to be on the real though, I think on the real, I think that there's a little truth in that. You know, metaphorically speaking, I think we do need to kind of socially hug these motherfuckers and say, listen, all right. Let's have, somehow we have to have a discussion. Somehow we have to, if I were to hold a grudge against my relatives, my blood relatives, for the homophobic things they've said in their past to me,
right?
Or about homosexuals in general, blase, I would have no relatives.
Right.
If
Jamaican, right? Jamaican?
Yeah, my brother's Jamaican.
Yeah.
My
Very
brother's Jamaican. Right. My
Super
brother's Jamaican. My dad's from
Yeah.
Aiken, South Carolina.
Yeah.
There's not a relative I have that hasn't at some point said some homophobic shit.
Oh, yeah.
Including myself.
Yeah. Well, you grew up. I mean, like, man, I was in jury duty in Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn, jury duty for this like car accident case, and it was me and all black ladies. It was literally me, a room, 11 black women and me, and one of the women was this Jamaican granny, thick accent, and she was obsessed with gay people. But she's like, gay is not a choice. Like, gay, is it? No, she's like, gay is a choice. It's a choice because she's like, sometimes I see a girl and I'm like, but then I don't act on it. I'm like, what? What? We're all like, granny? Like, are you gay? Like, the thing is, like, she seemed to be a repressed gay lady, and she was like so obsessed with talking about gay people. None of us had anything. There's nothing here going on. This is about literally a lady who got rear-ended,
hilarious.
and she just kept going on about how being gay is a choice. It's a choice.
And she's struggling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In her old age, but in a way, it's like sad. It's like somebody who's toward the end of her life, who struggled her entire life with not being able to be herself.
So many people.
And so many people. Yeah.
So many people. You guys joke me because because I sleep with so many quote unquote straight guys, but,
right?
I think a part of that is that I do break that gay stereotype,
right?
And so it makes them more comfortable. It's like, oh, if I'm gonna do this, I'll do it. He's a bro.
At least
he's a bro.
At least it's not gay.
This
is like the manliest way I could do. Yeah, and you're like, all right, whatever, man. You're like, whatever it takes to.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the male programming is something.
It's a toxic masculinity. Yeah.
It is.
It's shame. It's gay shame.
I think. Well, what it is it's something that's. I think it's just like you're saying about the empathy. The one thing about the male psychology is that we are disposable in the end. We're expected to just go out there and die. We're expected to not have feelings. We're expected to, just take it, and just that. Yeah. Well, it's toxic in the wrong context, right? Because it was useful in the other context when we used to just war all the time, when there were motherfuckers running in, and then other motherfuckers had to stop them, and this was a real thing.
Little motherfuckers.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time when this was necessary, but now it's less so, and we're kind of dealing with we're literally still dealing with the consequences of that lifestyle. Like now, when it's kind of pretty much peaceful, we're not at war all the time, we're still and so there's this idea of
we
like,
are at war, but
over there the robots are fighting.
We are very much at war.
Yeah.
Let's be
I mean,
clear.
well,
I
just mean
we'll be
we're
a continuous war for the rest of our lives. Continue.
Yes. Yes. Well, I agree. I just mean the war in the classical sense where we were all conscripted together and we all had to fight. It was like actually a man's duty in life to go to war at one point and come back. Like that was a real thing.
Yeah.
But now that we don't have that. I feel like society is now adjusting because we've essentially created this hyper violent male archetype that was necessary, but now is not so much necessary.
No.
But what we seem to be doing is throwing shit at him and being like, "Get out of here! Get out of here!" We're treating him like a rabid dog.
You see that dude, that one dude, they ended up getting him off. I didn't think he was going to go to jail. The guy, the soldier who like killed those Iraqi kids and everything like that, or whatever it was, like really violently.
Didn't Trump pardon the guy?
No, he got off. He ended up going off. Like another soldier came up and said, "Oh, I accidentally, I signed a plea agreement for no prosecution, so I actually did it." And they got him off. Like, what I mean?
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
They kicked the lessons.
Can you just imagine how many war crimes we don't even know about?
Dude,
you know what I'm saying? Like, with war comes war crimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, and there's some heinous shit. We've known about the heinous shit for a long time. Like Abu Ghraib, we've known this shit is over 15 years old now. Like,
those guys are right. Let me tell you something, man. There's a whole industry. Those guys. Listen, when these mercenaries are, if you can imagine the amount of mercenaries we've been training.
Oh God,
since before 9/11.
Yeah,
and then you add 9/11.
Yeah.
And we all know these guys around the deserts and shit, killing motherfuckers, just like the crazy motherfuckers.
Yeah,
and they retire,
and then they come home. And then they come home and we treat them like shit. Yeah.
These niggas is like, dude.
They come home to a place filled with guns, cheap guns, no mental health care, right? And a society that has turned their back on them.
Dude,
I don't know. I'm just like, is that on purpose? Do you guys want a powder keg? What the fuck is wrong with you guys?
I think you're going to see within the next 20 years, I think you're going to see those chickens come home to roost.
I think we're starting to see them now, right? I mean, we're starting to see them now, and it will be more and more and more.
You're dealing with, because if we don't take care of our health care and in particular mental health care seriously in this country, and these guys are not able to get the help that they need. Man.
They might start organizing.
I don't even know. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. But
some of these
crazy.
These guys are professional killers
and crazy.
And I respect the fuck out of them.
I'm
not even throwing no shade whatsoever.
Yeah, no.
They did what they had to do, but these motherfuckers need some help.
Right.
Man. It's like that's the reality.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
And they should be helped first, if anything.
If the violence that I experienced as a child left me the way that I am with my
just
psychologist, motherfucker, you shit these niggas, bro.
Yeah.
You've talked to some of these guys. And they've done. It's like,
whoa. Yeah. I have family that's served and fucking they're traumatized. Like it's a real thing, man.
You talk to Jeff Carasalis about some of the
shit.
Man.
No.
There's some
a
deep
lot.
ass shit.
And that's a lot. There's a lot of people.
That. Yeah,
there's a lot of people. A lot of men and women coming back. Scarred.
Those motherfuckers, they served their they did what they had to do, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And then they get nothing.
And they come back and they're not taken care of the way they should be.
Honestly though, the one thing I can hope for.
Jeff, and by the way, Jeff does really good. He takes care of himself. He does what he has to do. But I'm just using him as an example. First of all, as my boy, and number two, that he serves as a great example of just like some of the stories that I've heard. Yeah. That are just like I was like that's a fucking hell of a situation to be in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just trying to visualize that and shit. Dude, that's fucking movie shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's
but then it's beyond. If you really think about it, like a movie is bullshit. Compared to that, that's real.
My cousin Cliff that I was just talking to on the phone when you came over. He just got back from another tour of Afghanistan. He's been in the service for the past like 20 years. He just got diagnosed for PTSD. And is dealing with that. You know what I mean? Because he's been at war for the past fucking goddamn 12, 15 years.
Jesus, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
we've been at constant war.
Think about Vietnam. Vietnam, right, was declared, 63? It was like 63 to 75. So essentially 12 years. 12 years of declared war. And look at the trauma that our society had just from that. The amount of media, amount of movies, the amount of fucking things, the fucked up Vietnam vets, like all that shit. And we were like, never again, never again. Yeah. Now we've been at war for almost 20 years. Yeah,
it's not even, I think the war is officially an industry.
And it's been sanitized to the point where we don't even deal with it in the day-to-day. At least in Vietnam, we were seeing footage. And there was an anti-war movement in the streets. There's fucking revolution almost fomented. You know what I mean? Now there's like nothing. It's so eerily quiet. That's why when people talk about fascism because of Trump, I'm like, if you really want to think about fascism, if fascism's really here, it was here when the military-industrial complex took over. You know what I'm saying? It's like the government and the military-industrial complex are hand-in-hand colluding to keep us in a forever war.
Yeah, well,
like
we are in a forever war.
Yeah, we're in a forever war right now.
There's no, I don't see it ending anytime soon.
Well, there's no goal. The goal is to stop terrorism. That doesn't. It's that you're actually creating more. We literally created ISIS by going into Iraq.
Here's
the
thing. It's a tough situation, right? Here's the thing. They created these religious extremists, right?
Yeah.
The white supremacist mindset,
right?
Allowed this to build at a time when they could have done something about it.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Just again, economic development, jobs.
Right.
I
mean, if that was their interest.
But that's the solution, right?
I mean,
so now you have these radicalized people,
right?
You know what I mean? That are out there and fucking goddamn, their own fucking brand of let's murder everybody. And now you have to deal with that shit, and that's going to take decades.
Yeah, but that's money.
Oh yeah,
that's big business right there. I mean,
that's why we're not leaving. We're going to be we're at endless war for at least the next 30, 40
it's money
years.
Because we actually armed those guys to fight whoever we wanted to depose,
Russia.
And then once they become the bad guys, we arm other guys to fight them, and we're basically making money both ways. We're making money. We also do the defense contracting, so we go in there, rebuild everything after it gets blown up. It's just money hand over fist.
They need jobs.
So I think again, it's the corrupting influence of money. Money is fucking up our politics. It's fucking up our war. And at some point, something's got to give. I feel like this is not sustainable. And I think as a country, we actually feel it. But it's amazing that I feel like I've only heard like maybe one of these presidential candidates actually address the fact that we're in these wars. That we should stop these wars. I
think they know that America's numb to it now.
But do you think that's true, or do you think that the interests, who want to keep this war going, are basically saying, we're not interested in hearing?
It's both.
That point of view.
I mean,
because the news will cut you off.
They programmed us to not care.
There's all that.
Because we don't look outside.
Yeah,
we're right now. Look at that.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful.
You know what I'm saying?
We're it's Rome. Here's the thing: we're Rome.
Right.
I wish we would just admit it. You know what I mean? I feel like we're in the closet about being an empire, and I feel like we should just come out and be like, look, we're an empire. We are. Right. In order to keep this nice shit going, we need to do this, guys.
This is just what it is. I mean, and so we're completely desensitized.
Right.
And and we don't have parades for our returning veterans anymore. We don't have anything like that.
But that's, in a way, I don't know. I just feel so much more unhealthy psychologically to live in a state where you are both conqueror and victim simultaneously. You know what I'm saying?
That's the history of America and quite frankly, society.
Of course, but I think we could still do a bit better, at least in our discourse of being like, yeah, we're fucking up everything, right? We are. We're the best. American. The average American thinks that they're the rebels in Star Wars. The average American lives in a sort of Disney universe of good and evil, right?
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, that's what they feel, and that they're the good
Princess
guys.
Ariel, baby.
Yeah. They're the good guys, and out there are the bad guys, and that's really almost probably like 80% of people's like view of the moral universe, right? Like we are good, they are bad, and that's just how it is. And I think it's only once you start going to college or start looking into things or go to war or whatever, you start realizing, holy shit, like we are the fucking ones giving the hammer to these people out here. Like they're the nail, we're the fucking hammer. Overseas, I always think about
just like that soldier we were just talking about. I mean, he was doing some brutal ass shit.
Oh God, yeah. But now think of
he was doing it at the orders of.
Yeah, of course.
His superiors. That's why I got him off. He wasn't.
Of who?
Of his superiors.
Oh yeah, of course. It's always the superiors who are like.
That's how they set it up.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing.
You ever hear of Major Smedley, Brigadier General Smedley Butler? You know who I'm talking about? No. He wrote this book called War is a Racket, and this was in the 30s, before World War II. And he was like, I was in charge of leading platoons to secure land for Standard Oil, United Fruit, whatever. It's all under the guise of these war actions. But in the end, what he was really doing was being the muscle for corporations to go overseas. And basically, you know what I mean? And he came out in the 30s basically saying, like, this is what we're doing, whatever. And then, you know, that just kind of disappeared with World War II or whatever. But I think now it's basically, it's writ large. You know what I mean? It's like, and you know about the Eisenhower speech, right? Warning us about the, so like, it's,
look what's going on down
this
in
is
Brazil,
literally what he
Brazil
said
right
would
now,
happen. He said, this is what's going to happen. You know, we're going to have endless war because of money and profiteering, whatever. And that's where we're at.
It's a business now.
That's literally where we're at. So it's barring another war, which would just seem to make more war. Like it's really, the only thing I can think of that can maybe stem the tide of this is psychedelic revolution in consciousness, like just a shift in consciousness away from the way we've been going.
I think it's slowly happening. Actually.
Well, yeah, Denver, Oakland, again, you know, all these cities are starting to legalize psychedelics.
I think it's slowly starting to happen. I think it's slowly starting to happen. I think that. You know, the violence mindset. Then, you know, I think that's why they're trying to lock it in. You know, but the, you know, into the consciousness. But the violence mindset is going away, and you know, eventually people are going to figure out. It's like, well, just get these. You know, this is not the. You know, the psychologist will tell you this is not the way to deal with it. We're going to let's deal with it the proper way.
Yeah. Let's address it. Yeah.
Let's address the
honest.
issue. Be honest and address the issue.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm not trying to pretend that I have the answers, but I'm just saying, you know, clearly there are better suggestions through psychology and socioeconomic studies and the like. And that would, if that was actually, if you were using that as the platform instead of profit,
right?
You know, then
if there's values other than just making money,
if it wasn't about the money,
our human society,
if the money was the byproduct of the action,
exactly,
you know what I'm saying, instead of the motivation of the action,
right?
You know, then you would see actually a solution to the problem. It's the same thing with the homeless situation we have here. I just posted a thing on Facebook the other day where it's like these the aging liberals, you know, are the ones who's protesting. They don't want like you know low income housing around them.
Oh right,
they don't
yeah.
It's like motherfucker, you know.
Well, they're the worst.
They're the same ones that delayed out here. That delayed having the trains. How long it's taken to get trains laid through Beverly Hills and everything like that.
Yeah. No, those old liberals are the worst because at least with the old like conservative racists, you're like, okay, you know, I get where you're coming from. Yeah. That's your thing. But with them, it's like they just speak out of the corner of their mouths. You know what I'm saying? That on one hand, they're like, no, we're all for equality, but like over there, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just come on,
but not in my neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so that's part of the hypocrisy that we're dealing with, right? But all that is starting to change, and I think that one of the things I enjoy about watching you on stage is you're constantly dealing with this contradiction.
Hey, hold on, what you're hearing right now is the neighborhood ice cream man.
Ice cream.
Passing by. Don't do that because he'll wait out front. For
he'll be like, what?
He'll be like, what? He'll get rid of that motherfucking boy.
This brings back memories, actually. I have fond memories of growing up in Koreatown being chased by Mexicans.
Back in my party, when you're hungover and you're trying to sleep.
Oh, dude.
And that motherfucker come by, boy. You want to just jump out that window like the Hulk. Like, nigga.
Well, it's fine. I don't think he's going to. It's fine. I don't mind. It's not going to be too bad for the people out there. But I was just saying, like, what I enjoy about watching you on stage is, like, you're fucking always dealing with that contradiction. You are self-aware of the contradiction in yourself, like how you present versus who you are. You're completely honest about that. But then you're also aware of the contradiction of the reaction in people, the discomfort. They come towards you. You know, and you do a great job of, like, pushing them away, pulling them towards you. You know what I mean? Like, do it, like, basically having the audience in your hands. I don't know. I mean, one of the things we should wrap up, but like,
I think what I would say is this: I just, because I use personal stories mixed with like kind of social commentary to make a point. I find that it's best for me to reach out into the crowd to make sure that I'm bringing them along with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because it helps engage the crowd better, and there's that trust there.
Right. Well, it's clear that you love the audience. You know
what
I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I love the audience too. You know what I mean? And then I think it's clear in people in comics when they do actually love the audience as opposed to they're just up there for themselves.
And I love doing fucking red rooms, man. Like conservative places, just because they shock easier. And
of course.
And they love it. They're not politically correct at all.
Yeah.
They eat it the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Even, like, anyway, but
people want to laugh and have a good time, and I think you have an interest in that. it provides relief to people in the end.
Right.
I mean, in the end, I heard. I remember. I think it was Colin Quinn. He was like, "Comics, you have to remember, you're in the hospitality business. You're actually in the hospitality business.
Having fun,
yeah, you're supposed to make people feel comfortable. At least, even if you take them to an uncomfortable place, you're doing it. You know what I mean? You're the steward. You should be fucking. So, anyways, where can people see you or find you online or whatever? You have anything to plug?
Yeah. Let's see here. We got my website is ronbushonline.com, and we got the flipped out comedy website also is flippedOutComedy.com. The difference is that Flipped Out Comedy is my production company, and we have a pilot in development called Ron Bush for President, and it kind of is it's a political racial love story.
Right.
And
I mean, of course, Ron Bush, part of the Bush dynasty.
Right, absolutely. We're shooting it as a documentary. That is the premise.
I think the third one, third time's the charm.
And the gay black Bush, running for president. And so, but it takes on a lot of the racial stuff that we've been talking about today.
Yeah.
And so we're just wrapping up the pilot there. But that being said, next month I will have a show. We're going to be doing a show at Skiptown Playhouse. Actually.
Okay, great.
It's going to be I'm going to do 2 nights, and it's going to be like a diversity showcase.
Nice.
And you should be on the show because you're a diversity
All right.
comedian.
Oh, I am. Okay, great.
Yeah,
nice.
I don't know if you guys know this, but he's Asian.
Yeah. I forget all the time.
Yeah, right. So you don't see
like,
color. Yeah, you don't see color. But yeah, so we're going to do that, and then I'll be back on the road by fall. So
nice. Yeah, look for Ron Bush on the road. Ron Bush is actually an inspiration to me because I want to fucking start hitting the road, and he's given me a great blueprint for hitting cities up around the country. So look for him around the country. What about like online, Instagram, Twitter?
Twitter is at Ron Bush Comedy. Instagram and Facebook is ron.bush. And the number 1. So so it's RON dot with a little period thing. Bush.
Cool.
My last name and the number 1, not the word.
That's your Facebook. Which one do you actually rely on
Instagram,
more?
But I think they're both the same. They're both the same thing. Your Instagram and your Facebook are the same handle.
I mean, okay,
but
gotcha.
that being said, at this point it's like kind of both. You know what I mean? Because
I'll put a link up there. I'll put a link up there.
People younger than I, typically Instagram is the main thing.
Right.
People our age,
right?
Old
fucks still use Facebook.
Facebook, yeah. Well, I think that's another podcast.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And just look out for Ron Bush, everybody. You're you will see him out there.
I really appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. And you guys, thank you for having me on your podcast.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool.
All right.